You'll see extra money and the last surprise that I've made. You'll see. That's right, Video Game Donkey. We're coming for you. The Smith Syndicate is in the house. I have seen the critiques. I have seen the response to this. I have seen the nonsense. And I, Harmon Smith, have had to come out of retirement to just demolish Video Game Donkey. And for the second time this year, it really is an Aaron Hansen thing with him now. He really is becoming the spoony one. He really is becoming that guy who was famous on YouTube for being funny. Oh, but he's going to use his fame for evil. He's going to use it to attack, to hate Nintendo, to come after Nintendo, to destroy Nintendo. Or I should say, try to destroy. Because as we all know, Nintendo cannot be destroyed. Sony tried to kill Nintendo. They failed. Sega tried to kill Nintendo. They failed. Microsoft tried to kill Nintendo. They failed. And this is just another paltry attempt from some no-name, irrelevant e-celeb desperately trying to ruin everyone's fun with a great game, with nonsensical complaints and just ridiculous all-around allegations in regards to certain things. Now, I've been talking about this a little bit. Of course, I've been meaning to go into certain some of the criticisms Bayonetta 3 has gotten. I've touched on like a lot of them, in particular already. The story elements and the shipping elements are the two big ones. But now I think like the Pretendos have rallied. They've gotten together and they're going to try and pretend that the game itself is bad. It's I'm very interested in seeing what Donkey says about this. I have a general idea. I have not seen the video yet. I have seen like some people bring up like some of the things he said, and I don't respect them at all. It's just not going to I'm not impressed by what I've seen of Video Game Donkey. And the last time I covered Donkey was with the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 video, a game I was not a fan of at all. And even that like antagonized me. That brought out like the rage. That brought out like feelings like I didn't even know I had. Like I don't even like Xenoblade Chronicles, and I thought Video Game Donkey's coverage of it was ridiculous. So let's again, like I've extensively covered Bayonetta 3 already. I've talked about it a lot. I had a lot of things to say about it. It is a great game. I'm still playing it. I have a lot of things to do in it. A lot of things left to do. I put like 20 hours into it, beat it twice on 2 different difficulty settings. I love the game, right? I'm curious what Video Game Dunkey has to say. Let's see what YouTube's greatest comedian has to say about a video game.
Platinum Games has done a lot of good games like Mad World on the Wii, Metal Gear Rated, Near Auto Racing, and The 100 Wonderful Men. But for my money, the best game they ever did was Devil May Cry 5. And what's messed up about what
Yep, this is the narrative that the Pretendos really are going with, is that like Devil May Cry 5 is better than Bayonetta 3. Now, this isn't the point of the video to kind of like debate which game is better, because I don't think it's even really necessary, because the thing is, Devil May Cry and Bayonetta aren't in competition with each other. Not really. Devil May Cry 5 came out years ago. If you're a big Devil May Cry fan, you've played it to completion already, possibly several times. Meanwhile, people are still like sinking their teeth into Bayonetta 3. There's no reason. It doesn't make any sense to say that like, oh, Devil May Cry is better, because that game's been out forever, right? Like, people have moved on to something else. They want something new, and Bayonetta is providing that something new. That's the thing. It just, Devil May Cry can't compete in that capacity. Like, Bayonetta is the hot new thing, and people are playing and getting into it. Like, Devil May Cry 5 is old news. Nobody cares about it anymore. Nobody's talking about it anymore. But there are a certain subsection of fanboys, like hardcore DMC fans, who really want to try and convince themselves that Devil May Cry 5 is so much better than Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 isn't even worth playing. And that simply is not true.
they didn't actually make that game. Bayonetta is the game that put platinum on the map. Directed by Hideki Kamiya, who did the original Devil May Cry, it was the spiritual successor that stomped on the original. 11 years later, now it's Bayonetta that can learn a couple things from its progenitor.
What? So he's saying Bayonetta 3 can learn things from Devil May Cry 5. Like what? Like what exactly did Devil May Cry 5 do that's so spectacular that Bayonetta can't compete? I've gone on record about this like several times, but the original Bayonetta by itself is better than all 5 Devil May Cry games. Like all of them. Like it's no competition. It has more replay value, more content, better visuals, better combat. Like more interesting characters, like a more unique setting, like there's all sorts of things that just kind of everything Devil May Cry does, the original Bayonetta does better. And Bayonetta 3 expanded on that with completely new gameplay elements that nothing in Devil May Cry even comes close to imagining. There's nothing close to what Devil May Cry does. There's nothing close. It's not even close, really, when it comes to the differences in gameplay style. Like, there's nothing really about Devil May Cry that I would say Bayonetta could learn from. It just doesn't make any sense.
Bayonetta 3 has some of the craziest shit ever in a platinum game, which is saying a lot. You do a naked dance on top of a spider who is crawling over skyscrapers. You battle a werewolf in Paris and summon a giant frog with boobies that can make it rain blood by singing and play as a giant rainbow cat digging for water in ancient Egypt. At one point, Bayonetta gains the ability to turn into a fucking choo-choo train. But sadly, Bayonetta 3's greatest achievement is how it takes such creative ideas and makes them boring. With Michael Bayonetta...
Nope. It's Bayonetta 3 is a lot of things, but it's not boring. It is action-packed from start to finish. You are never bored playing this game. You are constantly unlocking new areas, constantly getting new weapons, encountering new enemies, getting into these like new crazy situations. Bayonetta 3 is just a masterfully designed action game. What exactly is boring about it? It doesn't make any sense. It's such a non-issue. You can tell he's reaching to find something to complain about, even at this stage.
Style storytelling. I never go into a Japanese video game expecting the story to make sense, but I do want to be entertained. Bayonetta 3 has the most cutscenes of any game in the series, but also the least story of any game in the series. There is a lot of...
Wrong. Bayonetta 3 actually has an interesting antagonist. It has characters that actually, suffer losses. Of course, like the thing with the multiverse thing, you have like characters with like radically different backgrounds, like interacting with each other, and then like usually dying in fairly brutal ways. If anything, I myself, I am Cody Lee, a novelist, a writer. Like I write books, stories for a living, right? I know what I'm talking about when I talk about this. Bayonetta 3 does have the best story out of all the Bayonetta games, like objectively speaking. Even if you're like me and don't really like the ending because like, it goes on too long and gets in the way of like the actual final boss and stuff like that. Like I think generally speaking, like I found like each new area like intriguing. I liked all the new characters. I liked the way they were utilized and like the way like it felt like there were real stakes in this game. Like that's the thing a lot of people don't bring up is that like Bayonetta 1 and 2, it feels like Bayonetta is in like complete control of the situation all the time. Usually, maybe not in like the ending to 2, but like typically like she has the upper hand all the time. Meanwhile, in 3, it feels like the entire group is going up against like this great threat. Like it actually feels like a real serious situation. Unlike anything in any Devil May Cry game ever. It is legitimately really entertaining. You can argue it's not very good, and I would even agree with you, but like to say it's not entertaining is just ridiculous. It's absurd. It is objectively wrong.
punching and explosions, but very little levity or characterization or twists. In this one, Bayonetta goes into the multiverse like Spider-Man, except this time it's fucking boring. Each universe has its own Bayonetta, except you don't ever talk to them. They just show up and die, and then you fight the green Gloober monster in every dimension. The storyline is that Bayonetta has to give 5 orbs to a man, and then she does. I realize I sound insane saying this to people who didn't play the game, but this story takes itself way too seriously. Yes, it has a frog with boobies, but the writers hate it. They reject every fun idea and say, no, this story is about Bayonetta hitting a green guy to get a orb. What's fucked up about this game is that in the cutscenes where you want there to be storytelling, it's nothing but fighting monsters, but in the actual gameplay, where you just want to be fighting monsters.
Okay, let's talk about the cutscene thing. All of these action games are like that, right? Like, that's what made Devil May Cry 3 popular, right? Was like the crazy action choreography and stuff like that. That's something that like fans really liked and enjoyed, and it's something that like Bayonetta has been improving on since the first game. It's been like a trademark of the series, you know, to like have these cutscenes with like intense, crazy action and then going into the gameplay. It's weird. Like, again, this is the trend you'll notice with people who are criticizing Bayonetta 3, is that it really does feel as if like the vast majority of these people don't know all that much about the series to begin with. This is especially evident with like people who complain about the story, because the story in Bayonetta has never been the focus. It's never made any sense. It's never been good, you know, but like, you know, it's there, and there are like things to talk about when it comes to like, oh yeah, like the motivations of the characters or things like that, or like who Bayonetta would realistically end up with. By the way, it was always Luca. It was always intended to be Luca. You have all these like situations, like, it's really self-evident, like seeing a certain group of people react to this game, that these people were never Bayonetta fans, right? They didn't actually care about the character or the setting or the game itself. Like, maybe they played the campaign once, or like, you know, maybe saw a Let's Play of it or something, but that doesn't really make you a fan of the series, right? Like, you know, fans are like playing the game on Infinite Climax. They like, you know, actually read the the notebooks. They actually like appreciate like what Platinum is trying to do with these games. They don't they don't like try to dismiss them for arbitrary reasons, like the plot doesn't make sense. Like, you know, you can argue that like plenty of like classic iconic video games don't have plots that make any sense. All right. Like, are you going to like denounce Street Fighter 2 because we don't know exactly like who beat who in the tournament? No, it doesn't matter. That's not the point of the game. Like, the point is like fight each other, right? Like in one-on-one tournament settings. Like the story is just like an excuse, like a justification for why all these people are getting together and like fighting each other. And it's the same way with Bayonetta, right? The story is just an excuse to go on this adventure. Bayonetta, in essence, is like more respectable than things, other projects that take themselves way too seriously. And by the way, this game does not take itself seriously at all. He's full of shit when he says that like, oh, the game it takes itself too seriously. No, it really, really doesn't.
Hitting a green guy to get a orb. What's fucked up about this game is that in the cutscenes where you want there to be storytelling, it's nothing but fighting monsters, but in the actual gameplay, where you just want to be fighting monsters, they keep throwing bullshit platforming and gimmicks at you. On paper,
Nope. Fuck that. That has been one of the most annoying, pervasive, nonsensical complaints I've seen in a long time. You know, I was willing to excuse people who complain about like the Wonderful 101 and like the things it threw at you. I was willing to complain people like to tolerate people like complaining about like the Space Harrier section in the original, or like Zonus in Star Fox Zero, or like no, it's time to stop. Okay, it is time to stop. I am sick and tired of people pretending that like having different genres of gameplay, little mini games interspersed throughout the entire thing, little sections like this, or somehow like some terrible thing that detracts from the overall experience, because they don't. Okay, I enjoyed using Malphus in situations outside of combat, right? I enjoyed like the rail shooting sections, the shmup section, and this rhythm game section. Actually, this blew me away when I saw it. I was really impressed with it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was like one of the highlights of the game for me. Even I loved it. And Donkey's going to shit on it because I signed up for an action game. Fuck off. Fuck off. It's no. These sections are 2 or 3 minutes long, interspersed in between like intense action sections. When you get them, you find yourself appreciating the break from like whatever crazy thing you just went through. Okay? There is no justifying being against this kind of thing. None. If you don't like a wide range, a variety of gameplay styles, you're not a gamer, okay? You don't like video games. If you can't appreciate what they're doing, like creatively, like with like all these unique things they just throw at you, like, no, stop. You need to stop. I am sick and tired of seeing people complain about this. And by the way, people will say this about like the Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 3. People will complain about Platinum throwing in like these kind of sections in those games, but I have never once heard people complain about Nier Automata doing the same thing. It never came up. It's it's really interesting how the one Nintendo game, the one like non-Nintendo game in their lineup in the past decade is the one that like, well, for one thing, got the most praise, but second of all, doesn't get these nonsense complaints. You know, like this is Dunkey reaching. This is him being desperate. This is him trying to convince you that like Bayonetta 3 isn't what it sells itself as. Like, oh man, it has 1 3-minute rhythm game section. How dare they do this to us? How dare they make me play this? Like it's pathetic. It's embarrassing. It really is. It's disgusting even. Like, I can't believe he released this video. He's seriously going to try and push this narrative that these sections somehow like detract from the overarching experience. When I personally loved them. Like every single one. Like even like that really wonky one with like the spider, like the one that like someone warned me on stream was kind of clunky. Like yeah. I can see where they're coming from with that, but like I still enjoyed it. And then that was like the worst one. Like you get like some really good ones later on, like really creative, unique, like little sections like that. I enjoyed them. I specifically said so in my review. I am tired of people like Dunkey pretending this is a problem because it really isn't.
It's a neat idea to break up the game's pacing with a bunch of mini games, but the reality is a lot of these segments are just very sluggish and simplistic brawlers, which is the complete opposite of the core combat. Now, the actual core combat is great. It's fast and smooth, it's intuitive to control with hundreds of flashy combo routes to go down and express yourself. Bayonetta has 8 weapons that she can mix and match with 12 different demons. The possibilities
He didn't get all the demons. He didn't get out every weapon in the game.
are just insane. And for some chapters, you play as Bayonetta from Overwatch, who has 1 weapon and 1 demon. But he's really funny. As far as I know, Bayonetta 3 is the only game where you can drop a building enemy mid-combo and the building sprouts arms and starts beating the shit out of people. However, all of this craziness comes at a cost. If Devil May Cry is a game about killing stuff while trying to look badass, Bayonetta 3 is a game about killing stuff while trying to look for your character. Many of the battles...
No, not true. That's a load of crap. You always know where Bayonetta is. I've never once like struggled to see her on the screen. That is complete crap. I have no idea where he pulled that out from, but it is just simply not true.
in this game are so chaotic and so visually noisy that the camera camera just gives up. It just says, nope, I'm out. I mean, look at this. What the fuck is happening here? Now look at this. What am I doing? Who am I? Where am I? Where is Knack? How
You
do I
can
know that
clearly see the
Bayonetta is a
character.
playable character? Many times when I was playing this game, I just started slamming buttons and wondered to myself, is this actually what I'm supposed to be doing? And then the game goes, yeah, that was right. Too often, Bayonetta 3 obscures its greatest strengths by trying to be something that it isn't. It has some wonderful music, frantic combat, and some really wacky ideas, but it squanders these elements by shoving them into a story that just doesn't care. I rate Bayonetta 3 third place out of all the Bayonettas.
Third place out of all the Bayonettas. Like the worst Bayonetta game, worse than Bayonetta 2, which, by the way, is universally considered among fans to be the worst one. I think that was like almost the immediate response after 3 came out. So yeah, he doesn't mention like Demon Slave at all. He doesn't mention like the radical changes in combat, the unique and interesting weapon designs. Really describe like the game at all. Really, like it's just him complaining about the story and saying that Devil May Cry 5 is somehow better? Like, what makes Devil May Cry 5 better? Like, in Dunkey's opinion. Like, he doesn't say, he just kind of says it is, and then just kind of leaves it at that. And, again, I don't believe Devil May Cry 5 is better. I have no intention of playing Devil May Cry 5. If, I might play it, like, first, I need to finish, like, all the other ones. I need to finish 4, specifically. I never finished 4, because 4 was just very boring. 4 was not as good as the original Bayonetta. So of course I've dropped Devil May Cry 5 and have no Devil May Cry and have no interest in really going back to it. Yeah, that was not a very good review. It wasn't funny, it wasn't insightful. There were a couple of things that made me rage about it. The mini game thing, I think, has been like a really hot button topic for me. It's something I've been seeing a lot of. I think that is like the narrative right now, is that like the mini games like ruin the flow of the gameplay, which isn't true at all. Like when you compare it like to the mini game to the alternate sections in the first game, Route 666 and like the Space Harrier one. Like these ones are like way shorter, are way more fun, have way more creative like aspects to them, and are perfectly balanced with the gameplay, right? Like he mentioned the slow and clunky like kaiju fight, which comes right after or right before like a major boss battle, right? Like I never got bored of the kaiju fights. In fact, I still like really love them. I do kind of agree that they're too slow, but it didn't like ruin my experience with it at all. Like there was a big learning curve for me, like learning how the kaiju fights work. They are too slow, and like I do wish that they didn't have like the rock paper scissors system, and it was just like a straight up like giant monster fight. But uh generally speaking, yeah, I did enjoy it for what it was. I did enjoy like Bayonetta 3 a lot. And just like saying it's like the worst Bayonetta, like it comes off like he really desperately wanted to shit on this game. Like he was paid to do it. Like did Helena Taylor like contact him and was just like, buddy, like you'll get a lot of attention and praise if you just pretend Bayonetta 3 is not good, right? Like, is this Helena Taylor's doing? Is this a result of her machinations against Platinum and Nintendo? Like, is this is this a result of that boycott? Was this review made when like people were still trying to boycott the game? Is that what's happened? I I find this video like frustrating. And this is the same thing I felt like with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and like it feels like Dunkey is reaching to come to the adequate conclusion, to give like to like damage control certain games, right? Like he enables certain games, defends them, and then kind of shits on other ones that are like way more deserving of attention and praise. Like for example, I think Dunkey actually, to a certain extent, like defended The Last of Us Part Two, right? That's a really good example of someone like trying to like influencers trying to like warp the narrative when it came to that specific release. And now we're kind of seeing them like do the same thing for like Bayonetta 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, right? Like YouTubers are essentially trying to like influence the public's perception on like what game is considered good and which ones are considered bad. And like typically the PlayStation ones are good and the Nintendo ones are bad. And that's been like a reoccurring thing for years. It's for at least a decade, right? It's been very, very prominent on YouTube and other platforms. And I think Dunkey has like kind of bought into this because he knows that like this is what his audience wants to see is just like see someone like attack Bayonetta fans. And then like when someone calls him out on his nonsense, someone like me, oh man, look at these fanboys reacting to Dunkey. Like look how angry they get that he didn't like Bayonetta 3. Like it, it I'm tired of YouTubers. I am. I'm tired of them like trying to push narratives, trying to like downplay great games and like promote bad ones. Okay, like I am getting sick and tired of it. And Donkey really, really needs to be called out on his nonsense. I hope that like this video like wakes up more people as to like the true nature of Donkey and like what he's been doing because he really is going down a very, very poor road.